Welcome, everybody, to Movies, Music, and Mayhem. I am your host, Rachel Silvestrini. Welcome back. I can't believe we're on the 49th interview. As you notice, I do have a new background. Again, I'm still in Florida with my sister, and I'm hanging out with Super Pup Elliot, who is too cool to be on screen right now. But speaking of coolness on screen, I'm super excited for our guest this week. It's someone that I've wanted to get on for a very long time, and schedules being fun. I was like, you know what? I want it to be like towards the end of the year, just to like wrap it up, because there's nobody's take that I want on COVID more than this one. And it is the one and only, guys. It is Matt Knost.
End of the year. It's
end of the year.
Fucking April. What is that? I don't even know what that would. A tax year?
I mean, yeah, I guess my birthday's on the 16th, so I count that as a year. But I mean, it's like a year since we've been locked up, and like things are starting to open back up. So like mentally, I'm still counting this as 2020 because like we have not gotten to live yet.
I don't know if you're more Julius Caesar for redefining a calendar or Copernicus saying the universe revolves around you, but I like it. I like it.
I mean, I can.
Mine happens to land around the end of the year, so it's fine for me. Like I can just hang out, with everybody else. But I like that your year is the 16th. You said?
Yeah, mine's the 16th. It's my birthday's the day after tax day, so it's always been kind of like a bummer day for like parents not wanting to like they never have fun at my parties. Like their kids were always like, my parents are in a bad mood for some reason. I'm like, it's because they paid their taxes yesterday. They were up to
I never. Yeah. My parents' mood rarely. If I was going to a friend's house and my parents aren't, that's like, oh, whatever. They're in a bad mood. I don't care. Let's have some fun.
It was also in the middle of spring break, so nobody was ever around. So that was always fun. And
mine's 3 days after Christmas.
So perfect. It's perfect. You just carry on Christmas and then your birthday and then New Year's, and it's like this nice stretch.
Sure. I mean, I don't mind at all. Most people assume like, oh, that sucks, but like, I don't care. I always got a bigger Christmas. I could combine my birthday into Christmas. Yeah. So my pile of toys was always twice the size of my brothers and sisters. I loved it. It was great. It's like my Christmas is way better than yours.
Right? Mine, I love me more. Yeah, there's some shenanigans, as Brandy has pointed out. There's shenanigans planned for next week for my birthday. It's a whole ordeal. We'll get into that later.
When you get back here?
I'm sorry?
When you get back here?
Yeah, there's been plans of shows and guests, and it's getting real weird real quick. Because when you involve your friends in ideas, shit goes weird. Like shit goes sideways real quick.
Okay, sure.
Like I'm sure you've like given ideas to John, and you were like just like this tiny idea, and he like took it and exploded it and ran with it.
Well, we're talking like as far as birthdays, I don't think I celebrate mine in the same way that you do. So yours seems more of an event.
It's more of like a never-ending roast, I think, is what it's going to end up being.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But how have you been during this quarantine? Have you been
the exact same as everybody else, man? It's been awesome. This is the best. I just had a friend stop by my place today to pick up some stuff that I had that I didn't need. He wanted. Great. Please take it. But we haven't seen each other in 5 months or something. And it was like, hey, how you been? Although he's been vaccinated. So you're like, well, good for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's giving you a little peace of mind and frees you up and all that jazz. But it's a whole lot of like, I don't know, it's the same shit day in, day out. I don't know what you can say about the experience that we all haven't felt, said to ourselves, muttered to another. At least we have these outlets where we get to see another face and shoot the shit like this.
Yeah, because you had graciously invited me onto your show, Settle the Score, and I was like, when we first came on, I was like, I haven't seen your face in like 2 years.
It's been forever. It's been forever.
Ever. And it's so hard when you see people like in real life that like you can't hug yet.
I can't even come close. I still feel weird about fist bumps, even though there is no scientific evidence that you're fine. You can fucking fist bump, and I'm still like, hey, but it's rare even when I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hung out with family last weekend, and we were all kind of tentative to give hugs and all that stuff. But still, I mean, we'll return back to normal. It's just going to take time. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, what have you been doing to keep busy? Because I know like everybody has that thing where they're like, some people dove into like music and like organizing their house, or deep diving into movies, or have reorganized or have rearranged their apartments like 17,000 times.
I mean, I'm assuming I'm like a lot of people. I've done a little bit of everything you just said, You do something for a while, then you get tired of it and you move on to the next thing. And then it's just like a revolving door. It has been for me. I've done a bunch of home improvement. I still I've got to work on my truck tomorrow. That small little projects here and there, and then filling in with doing shows and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a routine of monotony. It'll pass. Just a little bit more time. If this is as bad as it is, I'm perfectly fine.
Right.
So I'm not complaining. It's just I'm bored. That's my complaint. But it's not the end of the world. I'll continue to do it and suck it up, baby.
I was actually about to ask this. Brandy beat me to it. I feel like you're like knitting or something. Like, have you taken up like knitting or crocheting or any sort of like other hobby to keep your hands busy?
No. Like no new hobbies like this. So the truck tomorrow, I'm putting in an alternator, changing a belt, and putting in a new tension rod. But it's all pretty straightforward. I've never done it before, but looks so simple, and I'm pretty handy, so it's fine. It's like, okay, there's a project that I'll do tomorrow, and I'll learn a new skill, which is changing an alternator, a serpentine belt, and a tension rod or a tensioner. It's great, but it's honestly, it looks like it's going to be so easy. You could do it.
That's
everybody. Look, you're making the face.
It's like famous last words. It looks so easy. Like those words always scare me.
It really is. The biggest hurdle is honestly disconnecting your battery, because most people are like, oh, it's going to kill me. It's like, you don't even, there's nothing happens. But I had to get past that. Like I know how to run electrical and hook up to a fuse box and put in outlets and lights and whatever. But I taught myself along the way. The biggest hurdle is, okay, is the power off? Like I bought a meter, even though there was no power running to this area of the house, and I still put the meter on it. I still check it now, but I'm perfectly fine with it. But you just teach yourself one new thing, move on. I've done a lot of that.
I feel like coming out of this, a lot of people are not going to have any more like honey-do lists.
No, I wish that were true. No, it doesn't end. It doesn't end.
Or maybe it's at least been cut in half. Like my mom had one for me when I moved back home, and she was like, "You're handy. You because I am like you're handy. I mean I don't have any of the power saws or anything, but I was a big part of refurbishing and redoing her kitchen and like 2 of the bathrooms and stuff. So now she's like, well, this is starting to fall apart and this is falling apart. I'm like, okay, just go get me spackle and we'll fix it. It'll be fine. Yeah,
exactly. Go pick up any number of if it's at Home Depot, you can make something with it. Like you could do it. It's not.
Oh yeah, it's not hard.
No, it's just a matter of discovering how to do it and then trial and error. Every new thing that I learn too. That's the worst part of it. Is at the start of it, I have a rough understanding. By the time I finish it, I'm really good at it. And then you look back at where you started, and you're like, God, I should really redo that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because it's just like it's good enough. It's perfectly fine. Other times, like it'll take a couple of hours, but now that make these connections a little bit stronger, or do this, or skim that down better. But yeah, one after the other.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah. But
will it end? No. I wish that were the case. I wish there was a light at the end of the tunnel. You think it's there? It's not. It's not. But that's fine. That's fine. I enjoy doing it. So it's just you got it one at a time. Check them off a list.
Now, while you're doing all of these things and checking things off lists while it's still getting replenished, what music are you listening to while you're fixing and patching and sanding?
So I think I've finally turned into an old man.
Oh, finally? I did that like 3 years ago.
Well, I don't think I genuinely became adult until I was 28. But I'm saying as far as music tastes, because now they're cemented, and I know I don't search out new bands anymore.
Right.
But it used to be like 8 years ago or so, I was still on a track of all the festivals that would get released. I would go through, and of the 20 bands I've never heard of, I'd cherry pick 5 to 7 of them and just check them out. So you do it for Coachella, you do it for all the different ones. Bonnaroo, there's always a bunch of them. So I was constantly hunting music. I filled up like 2 full iPods. I had bands from all over the world that just because they pop up on these things, be like, I'll check them out, and then end up enjoying it. And it's easy to hold on to. It's all digital. That's why I like digital. But that stopped like 5-6 years ago. So now it's everything from 5-6 years ago and earlier. I couldn't tell you a new thing off the top of my head that I've listened to, unless it's a band that I already liked putting out an album, like the Strokes' new album. I'm looking forward to Royal Blood. I can never remember if it's pluralized or not.
It's singular.
Is it? Yeah, I think so. But that, I think it comes out on the 12th, something like that. It's sometime this month. So I've been looking forward to that. But that's a band that I found 5 years ago or something off a YouTube clip. I did. It was some random, they were doing some radio station. You're like, you're not going to believe this 2-piece. And then I listened to it and I was like, who the fuck is this? How have I never heard? And nobody heard. They were brand new. And I just happened to stumble upon it. It was, but that's probably the newest band that I thoroughly enjoy what they do. Maybe somebody else can point it out, but you want to talk about anything 5 years and previous? I'm good to go.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, at least you're more recent than I am. Because I toured with bands for 9 years and was really involved in the music industry. I toured with a lot of punk and metal bands. I did like 8 summers on Warped Tour. Okay. So like I was back then I was also a licensed massage therapist. So I would like whenever Dropkick Murphys were on the West Coast, like I'd go to their shows.
Sure.
They flew me out for a show one time because Ken's got sciatica and I'm a friend of his now. So it's like, yeah, come on out.
Yeah, you're fun to be around, and why not? This is a no-brainer. Do it.
Yeah.
I love it. You're giving massages to sad emo kids on Warped Tour. Oh, Dad didn't hug you this morning? I'm sorry, buddy. I am sorry.
It was.
How's that feel? That feel good?
They just cry, and I don't know if it's because I'm hurting them or it's because, Dad doesn't love me anymore.
Yeah, who knows? But you experienced a lot of that. There's a bit of psychotherapy that you could add to your resume on some level.
It is. It's like a bartender, but like without the booze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Jeffrey Rush in The King's Speech. Look, I don't have a degree, but I've been around and I've helped enough people. I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're dressed in all black and your mascara is running. I know something's wrong.
Yeah, it's diagnosable. This is a treatable cancer. We can take care of this.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I stopped seeking out new music probably 10 years ago, just because it was so exhausting to like keep replenishing and keep up with all the old bands and like, and now I'm just like
working, all the bands you loved, and then you're like, what about this new one and this new one and this new one? Oh, this one's kind of cool.
Or like the bands who like take a break and like all of their members go off and found like side project bands, and then like those are members of like other bands, and it's just like spiderwebs. It's so much.
Well, so 10 years ago, what are you listening to then?
I mean, I was listening to pop punk and, I was listening to Circus Survive and Coheed and Cambria. I mean, that's
Coheed and Cambria, I'm with you on.
Coheed and Cambria is amazing.
They're legit.
Claudio, I refer to Claudio, their lead singer, as my metal Muppet because I swear to God, his jaw opens all the way back to like his ears because his mouth, he's just so big. And I told him that after a show one night, and he laughed so hard that ever since I've been trying to find somebody to make a Muppet of Claudio so I can give it to him the next time I see him.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, and their live shows are fucking amazing. They were on Warped Tour one year and my mom came out to visit and I took her, because she didn't get it. Like she didn't understand Warped Tour. She didn't understand why I loved it so much. And I'm like, understandable. So I was like, I want to show you what it is. And so I brought her on stage for Coheed and like, she got to stand, and stand in such a way that she was upstage right. And she was able to see the band in the crowd. And as soon as everybody starts singing, oh, whoa, like everyone is in it. It's like a fucking army. And like, you just get chills when you're there. And she turns to me and she goes, I get it.
Yeah. It's impossible not to.
Because they're so good and so nice. And it was just really adorable seeing my mom like walk around Warped Tour and like see all these like half naked, sweaty, tattooed guys with like eyeliner on, like hugging my mom and like.
Well, that's the thing. On that, who else is on that tour? Because Coheed might be the only band that I like.
It was Coheed, No Effects, Real Big Fish. I think Bad Religion was on that year. You don't like Bad Religion?
No.
Interesting.
I don't like most any pop punk.
Well, I mean, technically, Bad Religion are like the grandfathers of like modern day punk.
Yeah, that's fine. Fine.
Whatever. That's fine.
I like very distinct flavors of punk.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those genres. It does not appeal to me. I get it. But
I mean, my first year we had Katy Perry was on there too, which was really fucking weird.
That's interesting though, at least.
Yeah. But she got discovered off of MySpace Music, which was hilarious. So the summer that I Kissed a Girl came out, she was on the Warped Tour and went from side stage to main stage faster than I think almost anyone. Because it hit so hard.
No, I mean, undeniably, she's put out a bunch of songs that should not appeal to me, but they're so fucking catchy. I mean, it's just a formula at this point.
Yeah.
Where it's beats per minute in this key, this sequence, and fucking this is hot right now, so we'll use a little bit of this, and then we'll maybe sprinkle in some original thing we're gonna do.
Yeah, definitely see you singing along to Firework while like sanding a wall or something.
A great song. It is a great song. It is. There's no denying it. It's a great song. Do I listen to the whole album? No. But if that came on, I have zero problem with that song because I hear it so infrequently too.
Yeah.
But I'm perfectly fine with that. Whereas,
yeah, Peggy's right. It is a banger pop song.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know why she was on there. But again, like Warped Tour has also had like such a crazy like mix because like Eminem was on Warped Tour at one point. Ice-T was on. Ice-T was on. He wrote on Bus. We've had some really weird groups on there. We've had some crazy Japanese punk bands, which were amazing.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Dude, they're so fucking weird. But so great. So sweet. But yeah, and then it's so hard to keep up with them. And then we had like the emo kids. Like we had, Forever the Sickest Kids and
never heard of them.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I had a friend that was pure scene guy.
Oh yeah.
And so he would introduce me to, and there's some good stuff in there, 100%. Yeah. I understand why people listen to it. It's just everything surrounding it. It's just it's not made for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the most scene kid too. Like 2004 when Fall Out Boy was breaking big and all that. Full on one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Great dude.
Yeah, I actually saw Fall Out Boy play open for a band, and they only played to like 6 people, like before their record hit. And it's like the weirdest thing to see them go from that to like headlining Skate and Surf in Chicago or like Lollapalooza. And it's like there's 100,000 people singing the lyrics that I literally saw you write down in your busted ass van outside of Slim's in San Francisco. Like,
yeah,
it's just weird shit.
There was this bar in college that bands would come through, and a few a year within a year or two would be big. So my friends and I would go, and they also had a good drink special one night, just the cheapest beer possible. It was dime beers for like 2 hours. So you just get shit canned and watch bands and shit. It was awesome. But the starkest difference that I remember, the night, like my sophomore year, John Mayer was playing there. And I'm not saying I was following John Mayer. You're just there all the time. I just remember it because the next year when he came, I didn't go to either, but he had 6 people. Year 1, year 2, it sold out as soon as it was announced, and he shouldn't have been doing that venue.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember because I had friends that worked there, and they're like, dude, last year was like 6 people. I was like, I remember that it was like a dead Wednesday, and just having the discussion. But I can only imagine going from side stage to, I should maybe be headlining this or in discussion to headline this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be impressive, but none of those. I mean, way back when I used to follow Fish around. But
that's great. That
was a long time. I mean, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's a band I've never gotten to see live, but they did have like this really special, like fans only, like a super fan. Like you had to be part of their fan club to get a or to get a passport.
I got those.
And only 100 people were allowed in. But they were doing
Okay.
like this art show in Miami, and it happened to be like right next door to. It was in the Arch Center, which was where we were performing. And so I like just walked in because the security knew me, and I'm like on a break between shows. So I just walked in and started looking around, and I bought something that apparently I wasn't supposed to, because I didn't have a wristband. So I got yelled at.
Well, you know, it's a special members only event. Yeah, I used to be part of the fan club because then you got early access to concert tickets before it went out on Ticketmaster. So I would know 2 weeks in advance whether or not I got my ticket, or 3 weeks in advance. And you got these cool individual unique tickets as opposed to the generic. They made them themselves, and they were embossed, and they always put a different cartoon for whatever the city was. Sometimes it was just some abstract idea. I just sold all the tickets. I saved them all. I sold them like 2 years because they're just sitting in a box, and they've been sitting in a box for 18 years. I sold that, a program too. I saw a Halloween show in Vegas and the ticket stubs for that. But then every Halloween they pick another artist's album, and the second set is they do the artist's album.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I saw Velvet Underground. They did a Velvet Underground album. But I sold all that stuff, and for a really pretty penny. I was surprised.
Oh yeah.
I can only imagine, because now all collectibles like that, because of COVID, have gone through the roof.
Oh yeah.
So now, I mean, had I held on to it for another years, I think I could have doubled, if not maybe even tripled, but I still got, it was a nice haul for a bunch of ticket stubs and a program and a couple wristbands to like the big events at the end of the summer up in Maine that I used to go to. But yeah, I mean, I used to live music. I'd see live concerts all the time, and I don't drink anymore. That's kind of a lot of the fun of getting drunk along with you. Enjoy yourself more and more. And I smoked like a chimney at the time. So those nights I easily smoke a pack and a half while I'm at the bar, which, you know, thankfully now you don't have to deal with that if you go to a bar.
Well, I mean, there are still bars that allow that. You know, Nashville got around banning smoking by allowing smoking in bars on the north side, or I'm sorry, on the south side of Broadway. But if you're on the north side, it's non-smoking. So instead of banning it from the entire downtown, like they just passed it that way so that people could still smoke. It's fucking genius on their part. Because it's like, you know, that's, you don't want to punch a traveler in the mouth, because like like that's like 90% of their income are tourists. So
my grandma lives downtown.
Does she really?
She lives like a half block from the original Opry. That small little tiny brick building type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, she lives right up the hill. If you just continue walking up that hill, and she's right in that area right there.
Yeah, I used to live like 20 minutes away with traffic for like a year and a half, and it was perfect. There's like this back road that leads straight from downtown, like almost directly to my front door, which was great because then you don't have to get on the freeways, and you know there's like one stoplight, and it was great.
I was born at Vanderbilt in Nashville. My dad was in school there. My mom is from Nashville. My whole mom's side of the family still lives there. My brother lives there. My parents are now going to move there to go back. So I've been going to Nashville my entire life. And the weirdest thing, I've only seen it there. All the driveways are this specific concrete aggregate, and it has a tan hue to it.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. It just sets it apart. And I've been to a ton of other cities, and for whatever reason, it's just that's the best in their area. And so now it's like a thing that they all do. And I just love that about it. It's such a stupid thing, but you go to enough houses. I've been out there so many times. It's like, you know, that is a quirk of this area. I've never seen it so consistent, let alone it doesn't happen in certain sections of the country.
Yeah, we've actually been trying to get the Schmoedown to do a live event in Nashville for like a really long time. Because like, I mean, I would love to go to Nashville, and like, you know, obviously there's somewhere for Mark Ellis to perform, and you know, it's not like they're lacking performance space for, you know, the events, because it's
you're just up against competition.
Nashville.
But if you want a Saturday night somewhere, that's going to be, you're up against some hitters, more than likely.
Yeah, but also like, who cares? I mean, once the world opens back up, you're not going to be searching for like people to come to your things. Like at this point, I will pay to go see just about any show live. I do not care. I just want to be in a theater in an environment where the light's lower and the show starts, and I don't care who's performing. Like,
look, I agree. I miss it as well. So
yeah,
you get no denial out of me. I'm just saying you got to pick your spots. Nashville, unless you know that you have pre-sold, you estimate it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because how many people you got to fly out and then get hotel rooms for, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great live venue town.
Yeah.
And
I actually, the last time I was in Nashville, on the John Leguizamo tour, I was actually talking to the people at TPAC, because they have like there's like the big theater where like all of the Broadway shows go to, but there's this tiny little theater that holds maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 400 people.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like, what's the rental price on this? what price can you give me?
It's shocking sometimes, the price.
Oh yeah. But I've gotten prices. I've literally talked to people. I talked to somebody in Austin, Texas, because they have the Bass concert hall like on campus at UT, and they have a smaller theater right next to the big theater. And I was like inquiring about it, and they were like, "If you call us and ask, we'll drop like half the cost." And I was like, "Done," because nice. I know them and they love me because I've been there like 9 times in the last like 17 years.
I found a place in London that was, honestly, this would have been the coolest venue. And I managed to get the individual in charge of it, and they were really nice. And we went back a couple of emails. I was like, all right, so if we're thinking about coming on this date for one night only, what's your going rate? And she was like, well, considering, breakdown of it's not going to be too raucous a crowd, et cetera, so security won't have to be as high. She was, I think it was $7,000. I was like, but it was, listen to this. So it was a bank vault that was converted into a bunker in World War II. And it had this silo top. It was all underground. I was like, this is nuts. And I went and talked to them. They mainly do corporate gigs.
Yeah.
But she's like, this sounds like fun. And we should do more things like this. And we should have you in. And the best price I can give you. And I was like, all right, well, this is a gorgeous venue. It really is.
Well, I mean, speaking of London, that was so much fun. That was such a great trip out. The show that you guys did there was a blast. I also loved being able to use it as an excuse to go visit one of my favorite cities in the world and see some of my friends, and also get stalked by you and your beautiful wife in the line for customs. Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you're like, hey, how are you? Well, after having just flown all those hours, we saw, and then we got in the same train back in. You helped us basically walked us down to the Oyster card. You're like, this is where you fill up. And you're like, oh, I was so like tired.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had just flown like 10 hours from LA to London, and like I just remember us both just like having our earbuds in line for customs, looking like death, not even warmed over, just death. And like I was walking one way and you were walking towards me. We both just kind of looked up and we were like, "Hi."
Well, after that initial, then we had to sit in customs longer. They pulled us out of line because I was there on a work visa for, just that, and then I'm gone. It was fine. Everything checked out, but that's a special. They have to run it through the system, verify that in fact you do have this work visa. And then they had to call the venue, and the venue, I think finally like double verification or something. I don't know. It took like 20 minutes, half hour. But after all that flying, you're like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah. And then a 40-minute train ride into downtown.
Which I
just remember walking out. I just remember you finally walking out, and I was like, "What the fuck did you do? Like, like what did you tell them?" You're like, "Oh, I told them I was here for work." I was like, "Oh, that's your biggest mistake."
Well, if I've got the work visa, because I don't know if it's going to have implications of getting paid on the way out. If they find out you didn't declare, well, then maybe there's a penalty, and they're going to withhold, and it's just going to take a little extra time. And I had to stay up so many nights till 3-4 in the morning to get enough people on the phone for it to come through, because it was a mix up and is who was supposed to provide it.
I think we also landed like at dawn. Like we landed like early, I feel.
Yeah, it was.
That was a trip. But you guys like stayed for a few days, right? You guys stayed in London and hung out.
Yeah, we hung out until I want to say it was Monday, and then Monday we left and went down to Spain.
Ugh,
Maybe it was Tuesday. I can't remember specifically, but I think it was Monday.
crazy.
Yeah. Then we went from Spain down to Morocco and then back up to Spain and then flew back out from Spain.
Amazing.
But, yeah, it was fantastic. London was awesome, and then got a nice vacation on top of that and came back home, and it was fantastic. I'd love to do it again. We were going to try and do that before COVID, but things weren't working out.
I know. I was like, please don't go without me. I want to go back again.
I know, yeah, but all the tea leaves were like, this isn't going, and that venue was great.
Yeah,
we had booked a larger room, and it's an even cooler spot within a cool venue.
Yeah, it was a really nice place.
It's brand new,
huge,
and they mostly do like symphonic and spoken word, and it's like this nice, really upscale double theater all in one huge building that's like 8 years old.
And then Top 10 fans took over, and they were like,
well, they put us in theater 2, the 200 seater as opposed to the 400 seater. Well, that's what we reserved rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so great. After years of going on beforehand, I was like, hey, knowing what an event like this is going to be like, I was like, can we get access to concessions and then open up doors a half an hour earlier and let people stream in and out? That way you get an extra couple bucks potentially on 2 or 3 drinks sold, and we get them. There's no rush to get in. And they're like, we've never had trouble with getting 200 people in 30 minutes or less. And you're like, trust me, I've done enough of these shows. If people are sitting out milling about drinking beforehand, they're going to, some people are going to dutifully get in there as quickly as they can. Others are going to be like, well, the show's not starting. I can get a second one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make some extra cash. They want to drink. Let's just do this. But after I got an email like 2 days later, and they're like, you were right about that half hour. We should have opened the doors an hour earlier. And it's like, it's all right. Next year, if you get this going, or next time.
Next time. Notes for next time.
It's different than people coming in for classical music. They're not going to have 2-3 drinks to loosen up and laugh.
Right.
Yeah. So trust me, I've done this a few times, just a couple.
Just once or twice. Yeah. I think, because I remember we showed up early too, because we had like stopped by the bar, because I guess there was like a meetup for a bunch of the fans. So Janine was with me as well, and our friend Morgan. So we stopped by the bar and hung out with them for a little while, and then like made our way to the venue. And I was like, I'm just gonna help sell t-shirts because it's what I do. And then I was like, why aren't the doors open? And I was like, can we do this? Like, this is just a heads up.
Yeah, trust me, my OCD was kicking in the whole time. I've been in too many live venues. Like, listen, I got thousands of these experiences. You don't have many. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've seen how the best do it. This is probably the way. I'm just throwing it out as a good idea. But they also don't know that my background or any of that. Yeah. But they were super nice, and so easy to set up to go back. Unfortunately, COVID canceled. But what are you going to do? We'll get back to it eventually.
Now, had you been to London before then?
No, I've been to Spain and Italy before that, but I hadn't been to London.
So did you guys get to do the whole the whole touristy thing? Did you guys get to go to the Eye and?
We didn't do the Eye. Big Ben had scaffolding and all that.
Yeah, it was getting repaired. Yeah,
we did Westminster and went down by Parliament and did. We checked off as many as we could, but we're also. My sister used to go there for work twice a year for a business meeting. So she was like, trust me, go here for food and here for food. It's really good. And we ended up going to those and numerous times. Mm-hmm. Let's see, went to the National Museum, saw the Rosetta Stone. Come on, Babylonian reliefs. It was pretty awesome. You're talking to a guy that's right in my wheelhouse. I love just about anything history. I was all geeked for that.
Yeah, my hotel was literally like right off of Trafalgar Square. So like every morning I would wake up, walk out of my hotel, and on my way to breakfast would walk through Trafalgar Square with like the sun peeking up over the buildings and like the pigeons flying, and I'm like, I am in Mary Poppins right now, y'all. Like,
I've done it
amazing
a couple times. In Venice, so we went to Italy for a month for our honeymoon, but it was like 7 years or 5 years after we got married. We're like, all right, we have the time now. to go and like just go for a full month. So we stayed in all kinds of different places, but in Venice, we were right on a canal in a, it's all kind of connected, but a nice quieter area and had the top floor view of a B&B. And it was this old building that had been there for who knows how exactly. It's like, this is awesome. People live here. This is bananas. And then you start, you know, and I love all the history. Like this hasn't changed in so long. You're walking down the same streets as people that suffered through the Black Plague.
Mm-hmm. I love that in my mind I went Da Vinci and you went Black Plague.
One thing, like a catastrophic event with all this water and whatnot, although I think that they held off longer than most because they could be so secluded.
Yeah.
But any of those where not much has changed for this area in that long, that's crazy talk.
Yeah, I haven't made it up to Venice, but I did go to I did get to spend like 3 days in Rome. And I went by myself, which is like, I feel like that was the perfect thing for me to do because I move at a very specific pace and there are very specific things that I wanted to see. So now if I ever go back to Rome, I can go back with anybody because I've already done the things that I had to do.
Well, what were they? What did you have to do?
I really wanted to take my time going through the Vatican Museum because that place is absolutely stunning. Like I literally stood for as long as I wanted in the Sistine Chapel. Like I didn't have anybody rushing me out or
I got rushed in and out.
Oh, I mean, they tried, but because I was by myself, I could sneak through groups as they were leaving and coming in. So I was really fucking sneaky about that.
Thereby depriving one person in the next group from getting in, you selfish prick. Look at that. Taking the joy away from Michelangelo's magnificent work.
Fuck you, have you met me? Of course. Yeah, I'm going to be selfish. But also, I walked up all I think it's like 12,000 steps in St. Peter's from the ground to the very top of the basilica.
Oh, nice.
Because you can pay I think it was like €12 to take the elevator up.
Yeah, no.
I was like, no, I'm here, I'm going to do this now. I'm young. My knees are still kind of working. I may as well do it. Now, because when I come back, I'm probably just going to take the elevator and say, fuck you guys. Because the steps were this tall and you have to they're deep enough to where you can't take 3 at a time, 2 or 3 at a time. So you literally have to take these tiny little fucking midget steps. It was ridiculous and super hard. By the time you get up there, your butt and legs are just completely numb. But then you get up there and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I got up there right at dusk. So all of Rome is just laid out in front of you with this beautiful golden glow. And I just sat up there until it got dark. And I was like, this is amazing. It was so beautiful. I took myself on a Robert Langdon, on the Robert Langdon tour. So all of
sure. Angels and demons. No problem.
Yeah, it was great. I literally mapped it out myself. I made sure I had all of the Rat Pack downloaded on my phone and just walked around listening to Sinatra and Dean Martin and all those guys, while I'm walking around and literally stumbling into these random churches that were just left there that are 2,000 years old, that are just the most beautiful things you've ever seen in your life. And they're completely empty. And you just stand there.
Go down and you find out oh, this church was buried for 500 years. And they're so it was forgotten about so long ago.
Yeah.
Do you know why the Colosseum is pockmarked all across the front?
No.
It's because eventually the Italian people that stayed in that, it's so the Roman Empire collapses, right? And there's a power vacuum that the church steps into, and that's why we get, the Dark Ages, kind of. Church law takes over. But Rome degraded from its once glorious state, so eventually 1,000 years down the road or 1,200 years down the road, they had lost the ability to make metal. So then they started, or it was just easier rather than making themselves, and they were robbing it from the Colosseum.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. There's a point at which, supposedly in history, after enough generations had passed and the Romans had gone away, when Celtic tribes or Germanic tribes would come across aqueducts, they just assumed that they were made by giants because they didn't have the understanding of the engineering that went into making it. And you're like, this is fucking crazy talk. But there's so many places like that where you're walking around and be like, oh, they just found this and it was buried beneath. And you're like, this place is amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm into like we went down to Testaccio, so it's a small neighborhood just south of like the Coliseum-ish, southeast of the Coliseum, not by much. I think you could walk there in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this huge mountain, and all it is underneath, a huge hill. Underneath, it's just pottery shards from all the olive oil that they used to import, and then they throw them into. And this was a dump, and it grew over, and it's massive. They built houses around the base, and you can go to restaurants that are built underneath, and they have glass where you can just see the layers, the eons of fucking pottery shards. And it's like,
that's so amazing.
This doesn't make any sense, But you want to come to my place? Like that strip mall was built 15 years ago, and it looks old as shit now,
Yeah.
So yeah, to see places that have been around for that long, it's, as an American, it's it's different, and I enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, it's stunning. I can't wait to go back. Like that's one of the places. I can't remember what it was, but there was like a week that went by that like every movie I ended up watching had a scene either in London or in Rome, and I was like, this is just not nice. Like I just want to go back and have fun and just drink wine and dip some bread in olive oil and sit out there and like hear some guy randomly break out into singing opera and like just.
I didn't experience that.
Okay. Oh, I did. I walked up to one of the obelisks that is one of the stops for the Robert Langdon tour. Yeah. Is in front of a chapel, and it's this huge square, just absolutely stunning. There's like tons of cafes and eateries right there. And then out in front of the chapel, this guy was standing there just singing the most beautiful opera I've ever heard, just randomly, just like singing to some old lady, because that's Italy. And and some idiot like called the cops and was like, they're panhandling, and like I wanted to stone.
I'm surprised by that, because there's certain areas where busking is encouraged.
Oh, I know, but I think it's because it was like in front of the chapel, and I was like, you can hear it. Like I literally walked into the chapel, and it was echoing into the chapel and around it, and it felt like you were just surrounded by this voice, and it was just, oh, Italy's so beautiful. I can't wait to go back one of these days. I'm just, I love it.
We were there enough where it rained a bunch of times, just like randomly in the middle of the day. But like by a bunch of times, like 4 times, 5 times. Yeah. But we're mostly in urban areas. In every city, these dudes would come out of nowhere, and they've got €5 umbrellas for sale. I tried to haggle with one day, and he smiled, and he was like, nope. And just kind of took off because he knew he would sell it. But this thing's going to break in 20 minutes. I just need it for 10.
Yeah.
I'll rent it for 2, and you can come back and find me. I'll be here in an hour.
I'll bring it back.
Yeah, it's fine. This is going to end sometime soon. It always does. It's not quite like Florida, where certain times of the year, for 6 months of the year, 8 months of the year, it's 3:30. All right, we get our 8-minute showers.
Yeah.
It's so annoying, but it feels so much nicer.
Italy's so beautiful. Is there anywhere where you haven't been that you're dying to go? I mean, not just because you're dying to go anywhere after this lockdown, but like.
Well, so after London this year, we were going to go to Istanbul.
Oh, wow.
So we're looking at potentially going to Istanbul. Right now, it's so cheap to book any of it.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do it, and we wouldn't do it until the fall. And it's like, we can do this for next to nothing and be gone for 3 weeks. Like, so potentially we're floating. If we go over there, we're going to do Istanbul and then down to Cairo. And then from Cairo, go to the Valley of the Kings for sure.
Oh yeah.
Which for your listeners that don't know, it's a royal burial ground that they've uncovered, and there's 60 some odd tombs there, and you can go and visit depending on which ones are opened. You can see some amazing kings, Tutankhamun, King Tut, but there are other bigger, more luminaries. And you're like, yeah, I'd like to see that. I would actually like to really see that. Or go down to South America, maybe do Machu Picchu and something else.
Oh, sounds like so much fun.
But it's pretty cheap right now. I mean, it's
everywhere,
pretty scandalously cheap.
Everywhere is like, please come see us.
Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm really wanting to like redo one of my trips where I flew in and spent a few days in Dublin. And then my favorite thing about the UK is the rail and sail from from Dublin to Liverpool, and so you hop on a boat, so you sail from from Dublin to where's the port? Some port over in England, and you hop off, and then you hop on a train, and you go through Wales, and then you come back into like England, then you go back into Wales, then you go back into England, but you're all up the or the west coast of it, and like the train literally goes through a castle. Like it's just this like one of the stops, like this relic of a castle, and it's so beautiful, and you go through like farmlands that you're like, this is fake, like this cannot be real. Like there's not like green does not exist like this. It has to be manufactured. And then you go up to Liverpool. I actually, the last time I went to Liverpool, I actually got to stand in the club that the Beatles played their first show in.
Okay.
And like it was like they were like getting ready to open, like they were getting like a beer delivery, and I just like followed the beer guy in.
Sure.
And just like stood there. Someone was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. I'll be gone in a minute. I'm not going to touch anything. It's fine."
Yeah, I did that with Fish when we were driving through Vermont and stopped in Burlington and went to, a couple of spots they used to play all the time, and went and got food at I can't remember the name of it. It was supposed to, it's something that they brought up before, and it was a place they always went to.
Yeah.
I've done that. Fish was the one for like 4 or 5 years. That's all I listened to. Legitimate. Like every once again, I pepper in, a Widespread Panic or Mo or, a couple others, but it was basically like my diet is about 95 to 97% Fish. And then I just eventually was like, I kind of burnt myself out. And then I went on a rapid next 10 years of constantly searching out, constantly finding. When I lived in San Diego, there was this great Friday night on Fox thing, but they'd play it. I'd get home super late and it'd be on at 2:30 in the morning. And it was whatever kind of young up and coming bands were coming through would do this as promotion for whatever gig over the weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I discovered like new bands via that. I used to, because I'd get home at 1:30, 2 in the morning, and it comes on at 2 or 2:30. I can't remember, but I already have a couple cocktails in me, some shitty food from AM, PM or 7-Eleven, some more beer and some more drinks, and just sit back, play a little poker with buddies or something. And nonstop. But the Beatles, I don't hold them in the same reverence that a bunch of I'm not saying they're bad.
Yeah.
But some people, it's clearly they're number one, and they would do the stuff that I did with Fish at one point in my life.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't my number one, but just like they were just they're so influential in every genre of music. Like everybody kind of like is like, oh yeah, I've been influenced by the Beatles. Well, of course you were. Like who wasn't? So just to stand and like in that spot and like breathe that in, and just it was magical. It was so much fun. But I'm really excited. I want to go back to London. I want to go back to Italy. I want to go to Berlin super bad because I hear like the music scene up there is amazing. Just like it's just like the arts up there, like, performance wise, you can see bands and theater and music and orchestras and art. Like it's just all right there in Berlin.
Berlin, Germany hasn't really come up too much in the next places we want to go. But obviously we're setting, up other trips before we get there. So I'd like to go eventually as many places as I possibly can. I love traveling is hands down one of my favorite things to do.
Now, have you guys gone on any like road trips during this time?
No, I think we're going to do Yosemite in the fall.
Oh, nice.
But that'll be basically the only thing. I mean, over Christmas, I, in essence, quarantined with my family at a rented house in Malibu. We all just chipped in and got an Airbnb.
Nice.
But it's been local stuff like that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, I mean, I know the area that you live in, so it's like, it's in LA, and so it's like LA, like OC area, and it's very hard to like. Everybody who lives there is usually so focused on careers and stuff that it's hard to like really explore even your neighborhood that you live in. So
we walk our neighborhood a lot, so that's one positive. I'm in Silver Lake, and there's tons of restaurants and a place to take our dog, and then we've got hills all around us, and we'll go walk the hills Some days we'll do it for a while. That has been one nice thing. We haven't been walking much lately, but like the past 2 weeks, we'll get back to it. But by and large, we've done that a ton. There are days where we go out and walk for like 3 to 4 hours. Just if might as well. It's nice out. It's not too hot, not too cold. Sun's out.
Yeah.
We're sitting at home. It's a Sunday. We got nothing to do. So it's better than sitting inside. I could give a damn about streaming another TV show. I will, but man, we're both clutching at straws at this point.
Oh yeah. What's been either a movie or like a show that you've discovered that you didn't think you would really enjoy, but like ended up really loving?
Would you have one specifically off the top? Because if I don't like it after one and she doesn't like it, or she doesn't like it after one, we don't watch it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unless you can go the other and be like, come on, let's give it another one, I think. But if you're on the fence anyway and, you know, your partner's like, nope, I'm like, all right, that's fine. We can try something else.
Well, what's been one that you've really enjoyed?
Oh, wow. The pandemic's been going on for so long now at this point. It almost feels like you need to subdivide because there's been I need to like look at a list. There's been so much stuff. I'm looking forward to Succession coming back.
Oh, it's so good.
I love that show. And what else? Next season of Ozark, I think it's going to be the last one. Looking forward to that. I don't know when that's going to drop. Did you see the last season? Did you watch that show?
I haven't started it yet because I've been let down by a lot of shows like that haven't really figured out how to end properly.
Oh yeah, I think this only ends in one way for them.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I hear it's amazing, and like that's the one with the Jason Bateman, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I love him. Like I will watch anything that he's in.
But complex storylines, shifting hierarchies, new players they bring in are interesting and unique. And then, they introduced a family member this past season, and that individual, I don't want to say one way or the other, so that you don't know. They were dynamite.
Great.
Had one of the best monologues I've ever seen in all of television. And I had never seen this individual before this show. I was like, who the fuck is this person? I'm trying to be so non-vague, but if you watch it or anybody else hadn't seen it, I was like, who is this? Who is this? And then since I've seen that individual in a few other projects, which is good because when you see somebody like that and you're like, man, I hope they get more work because I love everything about this. If they're this good, God, specifically like Tiger King technically lands in this. That was,
yeah, it does.
Somehow captivating. A paper thin premise was dynamite for 7 episodes.
I could not watch that. I heard about it and I was like, I can't deal with anything that like focuses on the abuse of like animals or children, and like especially ones that like glorify people. And I was just like, I can't deal with this. Also, I have a very low threshold for people that are massively stupid, and I just got like this really strong feeling that everyone involved with this show was just like,
it's so complex to even boil it down to that. Because look, Joe Exotic is by, an Einsteinian metric. No, he's not the smartest man you've ever met, but he is smart. He's not an idiot.
Yeah.
But it's weird after seeing so much reality television, all that, and this shit can easily be scripted. It felt very authentic and real.
Yeah.
And he was a compelling character. I would have been surprised had he gotten the pardon that he felt was coming his way. But God, that was the beginning of all this.
It was the beginning. That happened. I think that happened right at the very beginning. Like I think it happened like the week after lockdown.
What'd you think of the Wiccan aspect of WandaVision at the end?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, yeah, I'm super excited to see where they go from here because I know that they're not bringing WandaVision back, but they have to continue the story. Like there's going to be a season 2.
Yes,
like
that's not coming back. This is leading into a movie of some kind.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like they've always been juggling around like the aspect of like magic. Like we've got Doctor Strange who's a sorcerer, and like
I know
it's always been there. And I'm like this isn't anything new. Like I'm excited because I also have been like following Catherine Hahn's career since she was in Crossing Jordan.
She's so good.
And
she's so good.
She makes me so happy. Like there's that whole thing going around right now that's like, who would play you in your biopic?
I could see Catherine Hahn.
And it's either Catherine Hahn or oh my God, her name just went right on my Kat Denning.
No, I think Hahn is more.
Well, then you could be me in my 20s and Catherine could take over from my 30s and on.
Sure. Why not?
I feel like it's a good split.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. So you have superheroes flying around and all that, and we've had Doctor Strange, but yes, it's magic, but it's like more ancient and whatnot, and he had to learn the spells, whereas hers seems imbued by a maker type of thing. But when the signs came out, that like I didn't read Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch and all that in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I read Avengers and I read Iron Man and I read like others, but those weren't my cup of tea. So I was surprised when I liked Doctor Strange so much. And then for this big Wiccan, like we're fucking owning up to this witch thing. Like, okay, all right. Like I trust you at this point.
Yeah.
But I found that show really intriguing. I find Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of meat and potatoes. Like,
yeah, it's good, but it's more of like like you said, it's meat and potatoes. It's dudes wanting to punch things and like take care of things. Whereas like I think that WandaVision really resonated with me because it dealt with grief, and like that is such an important thing. Like it's something that like my dad passed away 10 years ago, and it's literally still something that I'm dealing with because it never ever actually goes away. So like watching that was it was a really big deal with, I love the care that they gave to the character on how she was dealing with it. And like, it was stunningly done. It was stunningly written, perfectly acted. Like, I'm so excited for the next seasons. But then, I go from that to, I discovered The Boys and fell in love with that, which is like,
so did I.
There's nothing delicate about it. It's just dudes swearing like nobody's business, and it makes me so happy. Oh my God, that show's so good.
I got to pick it back up. I burnt through season 1 over the course of a week, like at night, and I would just watch an episode as I went to sleep and then start the next one the next night. And then I tried to do it for season 2. And at that point, I've been watching it for so many days straight. I was like, I'm going to take a break and come back. Like, I don't want to burn through all of it. And to find out that that's Quaid and Meg Ryan's son, I had no idea.
When he smiles, like, first of all,
now it's impossible not to see.
I knew before, but like you could, like, it's so impossible not to see when he smiles and he's got those cheekbones. And, like, that's like, that's his dad. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, there it is. Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Well, I mean, I was asked to be, the girl on one of the after shows for The Boys season 2. And I was like, I haven't watched season 1. I will binge through it to be a part of this because I feel like this is like I feel like this was made for me. And so like I binged through season 1 and I was like, I'm so glad we're doing this for season 2 because now I get to talk about it with people because I was like watching it and wanting to like pause and like have discussions. And now I'm like, okay, season 2 is great. Let's go on to season 3. Because I'm a huge Frenchie fan. I love him so much. He's, I think, my favorite character in the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that first season, he's got a good arc.
Oh, yeah. He goes from shoving C4 up a guy's ass and blowing him up to it's so great. It's so well written. It's so great. Plus, I mean, the creator of the show is Eric Kripke, who created Supernatural. And now they're bringing now that Supernatural is done, they're bringing in a lot of the creative staff from Supernatural, which I'm super excited about. Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's supposed to be in this next season. Jensen Ackles is playing Soldier Boy, which I'm so excited to see. It's gonna be fucking bloody and ridiculous, and I'm so excited.
I love it though. Supernatural is the perfect television companion to Warped Tour from 10 years ago.
It is 100%.
Yes, it's been running for that long, and it's like it's comfort food. Okay, all right.
It's full of a bunch of doofus men that like
I'm gonna trust them. Yeah, I will trust them because they've created a winning idea so far. So let them go. Let them go.
It's nuts. I'm so glad that The Boys is coming back. Like, I mean, I know we have to wait another like year, I think, until it comes back.
Is that what it is?
It's not supposed to be out until like I think spring of 2022, which I'm like, fine, but just make it right. Like if you need that time to make it perfect, I will give you that time, but I want it sooner rather than later.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Of course you do, but good things take time.
Yeah.
So
I'll wait. Damn it, I had a question, but I saw somebody's comment over here. But yeah, I was talking with somebody the other day about how now at this point, like Marvel just has my I don't care what the premise is, whatever they put out, I'm gonna watch because they've earned that like undying, like unquestioning loyalty for me, because I don't think they've dropped the ball at all in the last 12 years.
Once they roll out a talking tree and raccoon best friend, and I heard that, and I text my nephew who's still reading the comics actively until like a year or two ago. And he was like, no, it's good. If they do it right, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I just trusted Marvel. You're like, listen, this looks like a recipe for disaster. You guys are playing with house money, and you're just basically pulling out more and more when you've already pulled out enough to win. So why not just Milton Berle this and just be fine with the win that you got? And I saw the first trailer and I was like, they did it. And I went into it jazzed. I don't watch trailers. So after I saw it once, but I don't even try and watch trailers once. I'd rather just go in completely blind and know nothing. But after that trailer, it's like, there we go. So now I trust him. At this point, like Falcon Winter Soldier is, okay, this is going to be setting up other things and they'll get to certain points and that's fine. So it's part of a larger storytelling kind of project, just like Star Wars is going to get, and Disney's going to figure out how to properly maximize their investments. What they do best. New Avengers area announced for California Adventure today.
Oh, yeah.
The official, slick trailer. June 4th is the release.
Oh, is it finally? I haven't
4th.
seen the trailer, but I know they broke ground on it like way before the pandemic shut everything down. Because it's going where Bugs Life.
Yeah, I know.
Bugs Life World used to
be.
An
area that we all just walked through.
I loved that section. That's one of my favorite Pixar.
You are alone.
I know. I'm alone in a lot of my opinions about some movies, and I'm fine with that.
I'm with you. Almost all Pixar, but Bugs Life to me is not for the chunk of real estate that it gets. Bugs Life does not warrant this.
No, I mean, they needed something for the little kids, and I totally get that. But like, I also was dragging my friends onto Heimlich's Choo Choo Train every time that we would go through California Adventure because the voiceover makes me laugh so hard.
Yeah, I've never ridden one. Walk through, use the bathroom there because they've got a nice big facility right there off the beaten path. But it's from formerly Haunted Mansion, not Haunted Mansion, but the now Guardians of the Galaxy
Tower of Terror
in the world. Scott, Tower of Terror, over to Screamin' and just back and forth, and then eventually venture off and do the Midway, the Toy Story Midway game, at least once.
Oh, you have to.
Potentially the Goofy ride.
Oh, that thing scares the crap out of me.
It's fun. We went once with two of her former employees. They're great. They're so much fun, but they would freak out on every twist. Yeah. So it just made us die laughing because to see them just scream in abject terror and then laugh like right after, but be genuinely scared in the moment. It was funny every time.
That's legit me. I'm like, I know that this is Disney and I know they're never, ever going to put my life in danger. But when you feel the cart, like there's like anchors around the tracks, but they're bigger than the tracks. So like when it tips, it literally like lifts up and you can hear it clang against it and it scares the living daylights out of me. Janine actually used to make fun of me a lot. She's like, you are the biggest, scariest scaredy cat I've ever seen in my life. She's like, you will defend anybody until the day that you die, but like you get scared at everything. I'm like, I know.
Yeah, I know a few people like that.
Yeah, like I'm not allowed in haunted houses or haunted how Six Flags does like the crazy haunt, like Six Flags and Universal do.
I have a friend that used to work it every year.
I'm not allowed to at all.
See, I don't get scared at that stuff.
I am super jumpy, but I also have like when it comes to fight versus flight, I'm all fight and no flight, which is very bad when you're in a confined space and something jumps out at you. You're not supposed to punch, and that's my reaction. So I don't go in there, so I don't get sued or get banned from places.
I feel like, listen, I mean, I don't know you as well as other individuals, but I feel like this is a convoluted excuse to give you like tough guy street cred to not have to go on and be like, unless one of those guys jumps out and I jump back enough, I'm dropping them. And it's just a reaction. You know, I can't control these fists. They're just going to do what they do.
Scared. I just get so scared and I scream like a little girl and then I throw fists because I'm trying to protect myself.
I find that a convenient excuse to not have to go, to be perfectly honest. I don't see you rabbit punching anybody.
I broke a guy's nose when I was 16 because we went as a church youth group and it was a touch not lest ye be touched situation. He tripped on his robe because he was sneaking up behind me and he lost his balance and grabbed my shoulder and I turned around and punched. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just not do this anymore.
Well, that's a very specific instance where the individual tripped and ran into you and you weren't expecting it in this environment. That makes more sense. You were triggered fully. Somebody just jumps out. I find it hard to believe. Although these many years later, I don't know your age, but I would say I'd venture to guess you're a couple of years older than 16.
I turned 37 next
You could control your fucking right hook. I'm pretty sure they're Tyson. You're not going to uppercut anybody into oblivion. But you know, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't. I don't buy it. Having hung out with you a couple of times.
Yeah, it's all nice until somebody scares me, and then I just throw punches and run blindly.
Plus. It's also different when you're on Warped Tour and you can just go roadhouse on a bunch of emo kids because they're not going to they don't have the musculature.
Oh, they're like the size of my calf. So like,
yeah.
You know,
just these lanky beanpole kids.
I throw them like javelins in the morning to like warm up.
The kids I knew was either that or they were the heavy kids. And those were the ones that were into all the ones I knew. So it was one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you could drop some of them, but man.
Do you remember what your first concert was?
Fuck yes. 8th grade, Aerosmith.
Fucking A.
Fuck yes.
Fuck yes.
Let's see. My second show was Driving and Crying, Bad Company, and Leonard Skinner on a triple bill. That was terrible. Well, I lived in.
Wait, that was terrible?
Oh, it's terrible. It's the same song being repackaged over and over again between all three bands.
Fair.
But I lived in a town where the two non-country, non-whatever stations were the same 70s rock, leading into choice selections from the 90s and a little bit more 80s because that was more classic as their listenership grew older. So yeah, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? A triple bill? That thing sold out. Okay. 14,000 people showed up. Yeah, it was terrible.
Who opened for Aerosmith for your first show?
I don't remember.
Oh, I mean, Aerosmith is pretty iconic.
I waited in line to get the tickets and they were coming through and it was the first like big band that I liked that my parents said, if you find one, we'll let you go. So I went down and waited at Ticketmaster and I got 5 tickets total, but I could only get 2 down on the floor, like 25th, 30th row. And then everything else was up dead center, but up in like the second, not highest.
The second tier. Yeah.
Yeah. The second tier behind, but I had me. So I was like me and one other person can sit about 30th, 25th or 30th row on the floor. And the rest of you, because none of you waited up, I'm getting one of these, figure out who's getting the other between the 4 of you. It's like the Joker scene where you break a pool cue and be like, only one of them's making it out. So there's a job opening if you want it.
Yeah.
And I think it was my friend Scott. God, it was so long ago. He ended up somehow getting it. I don't remember. But yeah, that was the first. What about you? What was your first?
My first like real concert versus not like, you know, something at like a fair or something. My very first concert was Billy Joel and Elton John face to face when I was 14 years old.
That's pretty sweet. That is pretty fucking sweet.
They were free tickets. We missed the first 15 minutes of the show because our neighbor literally ran next door, like our next door neighbor banged on our front door. She couldn't use the tickets, wanted to pass them off. My mom was in the shower. She hopped out, threw on clothes. We went down to, you know, the Shark Tank and missed 15 minutes. We paid $10 to park like a block away, ran in, got great seats. And I just stood and danced the entire time. It was like a 3.5 hour show, just the two of them with like a 20-minute intermission. It was amazing. I turned to my mom after that and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I'm working in live entertainment. I mean, until this year, obviously.
When it's great, there's a feeling like no other.
Yeah.
I've been in crowds of 80 to 100,000 people at a concert before. And when everybody's in sync, there's an energy like no other. It's incredible.
Well, they did this test with like Broadway patrons where they hooked everybody up to heart monitors just to track their heartbeats. And literally they did this at concerts too, where there's a certain point that everyone's heartbeat starts syncing up because they're all experiencing the same emotions.
And like moving along to the same.
Yeah, your heart's beat like a tribe, and it's amazing. And it's like, that's exactly why we need live music and live experiences, because it's a way for us to bond and to come together.
Do you remember there was a Foo Fighters concert in New Zealand where the fans were bouncing in rhythm so much that they caused a seismograph to go off? And it was like, whatever. So a friend of mine has been working in the music video business for 25 years. She's worked with everybody. And she was like, yeah, I was there, part of the crew. She was basically managing the crew recording it because they were making a documentary. And she's like, it was nuts. And then hearing her describe it. And she's such a sweet, passive. It's why she got the job, is she's really good at it. She is a joy to be around, and she's just super nice. And who doesn't love hanging out with her? And she's excellent at her job. Great.
Yeah.
So she's been working in the music business for all these years, but to see her like, it was amazing. Like 3 months later, it was like, oh, I heard about that, because I like Foo Fighters, but I don't know if I'd see them in concert. Oh. But that's cool that their fans are that into it and, enjoy the music you love. I'm not going to judge it.
It's like the one band that's still together today that I have not seen that I would probably kick a child to go see.
Okay.
Like, I have been dying to see it. Like, I've met Dave Grohl. We've hung out one-on-one. I've bought him a beer and spoken, and he is the nicest human being on the face of the planet. And I love the band. But because of touring and stuff, like, I never was able to. And if that's the one thing I get to do after this, that's what I'm doing. I do not care.
I met him briefly once. Very nice guy. For that brief moment. But he was hanging out at the store and there to see a friend of his perform, and then hung out on the front patio with the rest of us.
Yeah. Super chill.
Went up, got a drink. Hey, how you doing? Are you enjoying the show? Yeah. Normal chit chat. It's impossible not to, he knows, we all know.
Yeah. See, when I met him, he was, they were recording Skin and Bones. This is when I lived in Tarzana, and their recording studio was in Encino. So it's literally just down the street.
Sure.
And so he would come in to, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was called Palladino's. It was a bar like a block and a half north of us.
I'm going to adjust the light real quick. Go ahead. I can still hear you.
So I would go to the bar all the time and like became friends with the bartenders. And so I went one night, it was like 1:00 in the morning. I couldn't go to sleep. So I like went over to see my friend for like a half hour before like they started closing. And I walked in, and Dave was on their stage playing their songs that they were recording because he likes to hear them out loud. So he would go in on like weeknights while they were recording new albums and just like sit on stage and like plug his guitar in. And like, there was like an old couple making out in the corner, and like nobody else was there. And I like heard the voice, and I was like, I don't recognize the song, but I know this voice. And I like walked up, and he also doesn't cut his hair or his beard when they record. So like, he was just like, he just looked like this homeless biker dude with just like grungy with his sunglasses on stage singing. And he took his sunglasses off when I sat down on the table in front of him, and he looked up and we made eye contact. And I was like, sure. You're Dave. Like in my brain, I'm like, that's fucking Dave Grohl. And he like saw the recognition, and we had like a whole unspoken conversation of like, please don't freak out. I'm not going to freak out, but I love you. Okay, that's great. And then I just asked him if he wanted a beer, and I bought him a beer, and we got to sit down and talk, and it was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Super chill dude. Love to see him. Was that your best concert? Was the Aerosmith concert like your favorite concert?
No, not even close. No, not even close. Why? You think I follow Fish around for all those years? If Aerosmith is my number one concert of all time, not even fucking close. That Aerosmith show was amazing, but I was also like 15.
Yeah.
And it was in a 16,000 seat indoor like a basketball arena, and it was fantastic. But I don't know if I'd ever see him again. If that says something.
Fair. But the best show you've ever seen.
Let's see. Best show I've ever seen. So it'd be a handful of specific Fish shows where I saw them enough nights where you can tell when they're into it and when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain nights and you see them and you could tell it was a job tonight. And that's fine. They still gave their all and put on a hell of a show.
Yeah.
And that's me on the outside diagnosing from either the front of the lawn or the back of the lower bowl, because that's what you got on the early admission seats. You could get in.
But you can still tell.
You can tell.
You can tell.
You can. Well, if I'm seeing them like 14 times and over the course of a month,
yeah,
you can tell over 14 when they're really into it and when they're not, and when they're really pleased. Like so Fish Tour went from good to huge once the Dead stopped touring and all that, and then suddenly Fish got all these influx of fans that would hang out in the parking lot and were there to basically sell grilled cheese, smoke a bunch of pot, do some mushrooms or acid, and just hang out and just enjoy yourself. And they would follow the band around. So after a couple of years of this, I was at a show up in upstate New York. And while it was going on, the end of the show, like they're doing their laser fireworks show at the theme park right next to the venue. So there's lasers firing over. It was pretty sweet. But they brought on Ken Casey, who used to lead the acid tests, onto stage. And he told all the Deadheads to get off the Fish Tour and just come home with him instead of bothering all these nice people. It's Fish's way of saying, we realize you're out there and we'd rather just have our own fans instead of you fucks. They were doing it nicely. Because I'd see the same, that you go for long enough, you see some of the same faces, and you never see them inside the concert.
Yeah. Oh, I know exactly the venue you're talking about, because Warped Tour used to play there, and we used to get free admission to because there's like a gate that separates the backstage like area where the buses park behind the main stage of the theater of like it's an outdoor arena, right?
Yeah, it's an outdoor shed. If I had to guess off the top of my head, it's been years. I've only been there once. I'd say it holds 40, maybe 45.
Yeah. So like
possibly as small as 35.
But like there's like a gate that goes from backstage area to the amusement park. And we used to be able to get in for free with our pass. So like people would literally take their lunch break, and instead of like going and getting lunch, they would just run into the amusement park and like go on a few rides and come back.
Yeah, why not?
And then at the end of the night, it was just all of us. And like, God, I have such a vivid memory of sitting on the back of that stage and smoking weed because we were going into Canada the next day, and people were literally just like throwing bags of weed and like handing pipes back and forth and like throwing, rolling papers to like make sure that everything got taken care of before bus call. It was, God, that was so much fun.
Yeah, there used to be this end of summer weekend long concert up in Maine. They did it 2 summers. They did upstate New York 1 year, and then I went the next 2 years in Maine because it was a retired Air Force base. So they just rented the Air Force base. And it's right on the border with Canada. So you have to drive all the way up through all of New England and then get into Maine. And once we got into Maine, the only time I saw a cop was when they were pulled over helping somebody. So they let us speed because they knew we were all going to the same spot. They didn't give a shit that we're carrying a bunch of things. I just saw cops helping change tires and all that stuff because we were by and large, it's a generally nice congregation of individuals, and B, so we're bringing so much out of nowhere tourist money, and millions upon millions of dollars are flooding in. Why don't we just, hey, they might do this again and again, so this could be a thing for us. Let them pass. They're just fucking young hippie kids, Yep. Whoever really gets in a fight with hippie, it doesn't happen. So just let them go.
Yeah, I remember you could tell when Fish was at Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California, which is that was the amphitheater. That was my hometown amphitheater growing up.
Sure.
And across, there's literally one way in and one way out, and it gets so congested. But if you continue that street towards the if you go past the freeway, there's literally an in and out right there. And I would be driving from like San Francisco from a show that I was like working at or attending, like down into San Jose. I'd be driving home at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and there would still be a line of cars through the drive-through parking lot.
Well,
and
the concert just got out too.
Like all you had to do was roll your window down and go, "Yep, Fish is here," because the pot smoke was just still so strong that you could smell it like 3 cities away. It was epic.
Yeah, I believe that. I've seen a lot of drugs get done, and I've done a fair bit of my own. So the thing is, like, I know my limits. Like I've been offered Coke so many times, but I know that I would enjoy it, and that's a problem. I have an addictive personality when it comes to things like that. So I never did it because I just knew that I saw what it did to my friends because I drank pretty heavy, and I was good at it. I like drinking. But to see them, it's like, oh, they just got like a sixth gear out of nowhere, and they're staying up partying even longer. It's like, that's not good. I'm already drinking for 6-7 hours. I don't need to tack on another 4, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, for those who have been listening to the show for a while now, if you haven't heard the Coke story, my massive Coke story, you can go back to the episode with Sean on it. But we had to. I did Coke a few times, and a friend of mine.
A lot of people that have done Coke.
Yeah. But like, again, I have an addictive personality, so I was really iffy about it. But like, I did it on tour, and a friend of mine was like, I never would have guessed that you were on Coke because you just keep talking no matter what. Like, there's no change in you. Like when I get stoned.
Yeah, that's true.
When I get stoned, I'm stoned because I will just be sitting back silently and like maybe giggling to myself, but like observing so much, I just get sleepy. And like, that's what pot does to me. When I did Coke in my 20s, it was like, there's no difference. You just keep talking.
Wow. I mean, that's impressive, because if Coke heads, that's what I don't like it being. Hey man, what's going on, man? Dude, things are awesome. This is amazing. We should go do this because it'll be the best ever. And I'm awesome. So let's go. And you're like, all right. You're not awesome though. Trust me, I've known you for years.
Like, you really suck, actually.
This is Coke juicing you up. All that stuff. I never got into. Yeah, I take mushrooms, take acid.
See, those were the things that like everybody always tells you, like, make sure and do it with a friend who knows what you're going through and like can help guide you through that. And I never had the chance to do that because every time I like arranged to do it with my friends and stuff, I always would like get a last minute tour or like a last minute gig, and I was like whatever. And now I just feel like I'm too old to do mushrooms for the first time.
No, don't think that. Don't. It's one of the acid I don't recommend because you don't know what it's cut with.
Yeah. And
they make it with all kinds of different stuff, and you feel it the next day, whereas mushrooms you don't. It's a very mellow, chill, just put you in a good mood, and life is good, and this is amazing. Sometimes you get visuals, and visuals just for me, it's like stuff kind of bleeds together, or if you look at wood paneling, it almost looks like it's somewhat alive, like it's moving ever so slightly.
Well, a friend of mine had, I think it's called MDM.
Yeah.
MDMA. Yeah, and is it MDMA? Yeah, that sounds right. But you smoke, it's like a microdose of that, and like you smoke it, and it affects you to where it feels like it only lasts for like 3 minutes, and there's no after effect, but it feels like 20-30 minutes have gone by.
Yeah, that's
and like you just like we did it at his house. I've also known him for like 20 years at this point. And so him and his roommate are sitting there, and we just like, he's like, what song do you want to play? Because like listening to music really helps with this. And so we put on Simple Man, the song Simple Man.
Sure.
And I felt like it went on for like 20-30 minutes. And I came back and I was like, what's the time? He's like, it's been 3 minutes. And I'm like, what? It was magical.
Yeah, but if anything can do that to your brain, that's not in the scope of drugs. Like, that's nitrous oxide, where you're cutting off the oxygen to your brain, and that's why it has a lot of the effects that it does on you. And you do that enough times, you're going to be appreciably stupider at the end of this. It's not even dumber. You are.
Yeah, it kills brain cells.
IQ points have gone down distinctly. So anything that shocks the brain like that, I've never. It's like, no thanks. because I know when you cinch it that tight, there's damage. You know what I mean? There's fingerprints left. But that's also from years of experience. And then like, I don't like that. I know what it does. That's bad. And thankfully we had behind the music. So I never tried heroin.
They need to bring that back, honestly. Like I miss that. I miss that.
Well, it was the same story over and over again, but it really hammered home, man. Certain drugs are just, there's no containing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not just like the drug aspect. Like I really like I would love a behind the music on like the Foo Fighters or on like the White Stripes or something like that. Like I want that with like more modern bands. Like I know you're not into these two bands, but like there was a big beef between Brand New and Taking Back Sunday, and I would love to see them do behind the scenes of those bands.
Oh man!
To be fair, I've literally heard people like children. Well, they're not children,
of course, because this shit means the world.
But like I've literally heard children refer to Fall Out Boy as classic rock, and it's taken everything in me not to like punch them through the heart. I'm like, no, please stop that. Like
it's getting there.
I know.
It's not far. I'd say it's on the threshold. Like that individual is not wrong. It's just because of how quickly it all moves at this point. I used to, I ran into the singer of one of those bands. I think it was Simple Plan. He lived in San Diego, so he'd come to the Comedy Store down there, and that's where I got my start. And we'd all go to this bar across the street after any kind of fun show and hang out over there. So he was hanging out there a number of times. Seemed like a nice enough guy, but I was like, man, I never said anything, but I was like, your music is not made for me.
Awful. Simple Plan. Oh man.
Nice guy though.
Yeah.
It was one of those bands, but I'm pretty sure it was Simple Plan.
My best friend and I called them GGBBs. They're good guys, bad band.
Okay.
Like they're really nice guys, but you cannot listen to their music. Like Hawthorne Heights, great guys. I can't. Their music is so whiny. But don't get me wrong. Every now and then I'll listen to one of their songs and like completely just like embody.
I don't even believe I've ever heard of them.
Yeah, it's
Hawthorne Heights.
Hawthorne Heights. Yeah.
God, that just sounds so pretentious.
Yeah. They were 20-year-old boys playing music. Of course, they're pretentious.
Did you ever listen to Cursive?
What?
Did you ever listen to Cursive?
Oh yeah.
I love that.
I think they toured with oh my God, what's Dustin's band's name? Alkaline Trio, I think toured with them.
Sure. I used to listen to Alkaline Trio. Cursive I can still listen to.
Yeah.
Alkaline I haven't it's been so long.
Yeah, but every now and then like you hear a song, like do you utilize Spotify at all?
No,
like every now and then they'll throw in like songs that they're like, we think you'll like this artist. And then it's like a throwback to somebody that you haven't listened to in like 15, 20 years. And you're like, oh my God.
They got it right then.
Yeah. Then you're just paralyzed with memories.
Oh, there was one band when Catherine and I first met. She used to listen to this band and their big song was Bleeding Hearts Baby. Do you remember that song?
Oh, who is that?
I know. I brought it up on another show I did once and somebody sent me a clip and even Dan Nye, he had a copy of it. Now I can't remember it because he texted me a picture and he's like, oh, you mean this band? And I believe it was Dan. I'm about 99.9% sure.
The most handsome man in the world? Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, Head Automatica. Of course.
There you go. Head Automatica. I never would have
I know who it is.
Yes, baby. Oh. But that'll take me back to a very specific point in my life.
Now, did you and Catherine go to a lot of concerts like while you were dating and like?
No. I stopped going to concerts a long time ago. Well, a long time, but once I stopped drinking so much, I just don't. And I've been to so many, just like, I've done that. Although I would like to cherry pick, as best I can, especially once this opens back up. There's a few bands that I've never seen that I've always wanted to see. And I've never seen a show at Red Rocks. And I'd like to see a show at Red Rocks.
Same. I mean, I would love to work a show at Red Rocks because at this point in my life, like it's really hard for me to, like, as you are well aware, it's very hard for me to go to events and not work them. I will bully my way behind the merchandise table. I will, check in backstage and make sure everything's going okay. I literally cannot sit still for concerts or for events. So yeah, I would love to go to Red Rocks, and I know it's reopening too. So,
give it time. It will.
Road trip out to Colorado. Now, who are those bands? You literally were like going into my next question of like, who are the bands like that you really would love to see when all this is done?
At this point, so I just missed Mars Volta a couple of years ago. I'd like to see Mars Volta. I'd like to see Radiohead. I'm on the fence about Muse. I really love like their first 3-4 albums.
Yeah.
And then, they just went musically another direction, which they've done a few different times. And it's good to me, but it seems more generic pop than the, I don't know, from what they were before. But I'm not saying it's bad. It's just they've changed. They've grown. They've matured. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Those three. I would like to see Royal Blood just to see a 2-piece Crush live. Trying to think who else. Any what legacy bands going back out? If Pink Floyd ever does something, I've never seen. Although at this point, there's so few individuals left. I don't know. What about you?
I mean, definitely Foo Fighters, because I would love, like, just at any point, I need to see their live show. I would love to see the Rolling Stones. I was supposed to work. I was supposed to sell merchandise for one of their shows in San Diego a few years ago, and my tour got extended, so I couldn't go. So my best friend and my mom both got to work the show. My mom's a huge Rolling Stones fan, so she really enjoyed that. I mean, at this point, anybody who tours, I would love to see. I would love, and I know this sounds a little sacrilegious. I would love to see Queen with Adam Lambert fronting.
Sure.
I love his voice. I mean, Queen is my number one. If I could see anybody dead or alive, it would be Queen. Like, I would give up the last 20 years of my life to be on stage for Queen at Wimbledon. Like, that would.
You mean at Wembley?
Wembley, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Queen would break my top. I don't know how many.
Really?
I mean, I like Queen, but this revisionist history that they were a huge band, it's like they had 3-4 songs and then Wayne's World brought them back into popular consciousness. Yeah. And now this movie, to a younger generation, they think that Queen was the biggest band of the 70s.
Oh, no.
Not really.
They weren't at all.
Not really.
But I do love their catalog. Like, I've listened to their catalog. And
it's great.
I would love to see them. I would love to see Willie Nelson again. I've seen him twice. I've actually smoked with him. I would love to do that again.
A legend, flat out a legend.
Straight up, literally delivered food to his bus, and he asked me to stay, and he smoked me out, and I was like, my life can end right now. I don't think it's getting any better. I don't know. There's so many that I want to see all my friends again, and 90% of my friends are musicians that tour. So I'm like, as long as I get to see my friends, I really don't care who it is.
Very true.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get out and do something. So,
yeah.
I know.
Anything.
In time. It's the same old song and dance we've been living now for a year, a little over. And the shit into that stick is we're actually now doing better than everybody else. And the rest of the world is going to suffer through that. They're talking about huge swaths of the world not even getting to the percentage that we're at today of inoculated by the end of the year.
Jeez.
Yeah. So even if we want, that's the other thing. If we want to travel internationally, there's a good chance that they're not even going to be anywhere remotely close.
Yeah.
So that might put it on hold. I don't know.
I mean, if I can go to London or Rome or anything, I will gladly settle for Vancouver because I miss Vancouver like crazy.
Well, I mean, England, no, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Yeah.
Italy eventually will catch, depending on when you want to go. Canada, yeah, they'll catch up.
Yeah.
Just if you want to go anywhere exotic, so to speak. They don't really have access to as much of the vaccine currently.
I mean, we can go to New Zealand. They've been good for months now.
I don't know that you can get in.
Well, I mean, once we get if we get vaccinated and we have the vaccine the passport thing, which I'm totally for. Fine, whatever makes it so that we can go places and see people. I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah, some people just feel it's discriminatory because they don't want to take the vaccine for whatever specific reasons, whether or not you agree with them, but it's their right to not choose. So then to infringe upon, I understand the argument they're making.
I do too, but also other places
it's a greater good
to let them in if they don't prove that they're healthy.
I don't know how much more you can ask of people, because even if you get it and then there's another outbreak and they ask people to stay home, I don't think you'll get that compliance again.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think too many people are sick of it and they will say to hell with it and they will go out.
Whoa. Hold on. Chris, is this real?
He's been in a vegetative state for like 3 days.
Oh, I thought he was doing better.
No.
Oh.
Do we know what drugs it was? I didn't see release of that, but I haven't been following it the past like 2 days.
Yeah, all I saw was that he like went into a coma due to an OD.
Yeah, but it
is official apparently.
Yeah, the next day they said he's in a vegetative state.
Wow, that's
yeah. So at that point, it's just like the writing's on the wall, unfortunately for DMX.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's one of those things that I'm like, I think that's one of the first ones that like one of the first artists that like became big during like my teenage and like 20s that like has now since passed away, that like had been around for so long. I mean, I guess you could say Amy Winehouse, but she wasn't around very long. But you know, whatever. Oh, and if you go to London, by the way, there's the creepiest statue of her.
I'm not surprised. I mean, that documentary about her was interesting, but the people that were holding it up as this fascinating, amazing, what an artist, and she never really hit me like that. But
I mean, her voice is stunning. I
great.
love her songs. I wish we could have gotten more out of her.
It was like 2 songs though for the average person, was it not?
Yeah, Valerie and Rehab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the people that loved her, she was huge, but for the rest of us, like, it was 2 songs. She wasn't unique. I mean,
she was also much bigger in the UK. So like, I get having that big of a fandom over there and like not really here.
It did. She just died before she could really cement it. That's the difference.
Now, because I know that you guys, that you love your soundtracks. What is some of your favorite
Nice
soundtracks?
segue.
Thank you. I do what I can.
Although, yeah, I don't know if there was a game plan to eventually talk about Settle the Score, but sure.
Oh yeah.
What's the question?
What's some of your favorite soundtracks?
Well, my all-time favorite at this point, I think, is Tron Legacy.
Oh, for the score of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
For soundtrack,
yeah.
I don't know if I have a specific one, because, you know, anymore, what I've noticed, especially doing the show, so many songs cross-pollinate that it's hard to find distinctive where you instantly recognize it as this very specific movie. So I don't hold, the score is more emblematic of the movie, and I go back for that because they can just kind of motivate you and put you in the right headspace. And the Tron Legacy one works in so many different avenues. I like it when I'm doing the home repair or woodworking. I also like it when I go skiing. I like it when anytime where I'm by myself, but it's still doing something, because it's got a nice blend of laid back, but fast paced as well.
Yeah.
But soundtracks, like, I don't know. There was a time when I was like, this soundtrack is the best, but now I view it so differently. I have over the past few years, and then doing this show now is really cemented. I don't have an affinity anymore to a specific soundtrack, which may be sacrilege doing a show that revolves around soundtracks, but I like them all. So it's not a slander on anyone specifically. It's like,
well, is there like a song that will instantly set you off? Like basically the entire Empire Records soundtrack instantly made, like, no matter
I love it. You picked the perfect Warped Tour movie. Fucking Empire Records was made for Warped Tour age kids that listen to that music.
It kind of is. I mean, there are more Warped Tour.
I know that is 100%.
I mean, today is also my favorite day of the year. It is also Happy Rex Manning Day.
I don't believe I know who that is.
He's the artist from that comes to visit the record store in Empire Records. He comes to do a signing, causes all sorts of havoc, and
Sure. Yes, I recall the scene, but I don't know who that is. I don't remember the actor that played him.
Max Caulfield.
Sure.
Only because I love him. It's fine. But is there a song that like instantly takes you back to like one movie?
Yeah, there's so much shit. You want me to pull up past shows we've done? I've got all the spreadsheets, or not spreadsheets, but the Word documents right here. Because every show you're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. And that's a good one. The coda from Layla just takes me straight to Goodfellas. When as soon as I hear that now, I think of the trash cans the body getting dumped into the trash compactor in the truck itself. Let's see. Let's just pick a random show. Here we go. 10th show. Let's see. What do we got here? Bodyguard. I Have Nothing. How far I'll go. Some of these that don't really count as far as what you're talking about. Come and Get Your Love. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which I think has one of the best soundtracks of all time.
No, it's great.
Not like sound, more of like a compilation of songs that I love and want to listen to versus like these songs really help tell the story, you know?
Yeah. Let's see. What else we got? Show 14. Yeah, that one doesn't count because it was written specifically for the movie. I'm looking for pop songs. What a Wonderful World for Good Morning Vietnam. I envision the napalm landing in the jungles as soon as I hear that song now.
Great.
Well, it's just a beautiful pairing.
Yeah, it's a great job for them, but like the song's supposed to be super uplifting.
It is, but the juxtaposition worked so well for me, and I was really getting into movies at that time, so I appreciate it, I think, more now because I was able to recognize what exactly they were doing because, you know, it came out, I was still young, and you're younger than I was. You may not even been around. Who knows?
I mean, not old enough to watch it at that time, but it hit later on when I first watched it.
Okay. I keep running into shows where we did, and the majority of songs were written specifically for the movie. You're like, oh, well, that doesn't count. You're looking for a pop song for a soundtrack.
Well, I mean, Mrs. Robinson was technically written for The Graduate, but it is such a pop song.
It's been used in so many movies and TV shows at this point. It's kind of like Hallelujah from Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
It ceased to have, in a cinematic or that type of a storytelling effect, it doesn't hit as hard as it first did.
Yeah.
Which the Leonard Cohen, when you hear the Jeff Buckley, it's like, wow, it's amazing. That you pulled out this all-time classic from a song that I find to be just okay when Leonard Cohen does it. No offense, sir.
That's fair. Is he still alive?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
I can't keep track anymore.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, and getting older doesn't help. I forget shit.
No.
So often. It's disgusting.
I mean, Eye of the Tiger is obviously.
Sure.
So iconic. I can't remember. I don't think that was written for. Was that written for?
I don't know.
The movie? I can't remember. I don't think it was. I think it was just like a happy coincidence that they were releasing their album like right around the time that the movie was coming out. Because that was written 3, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I stopped looking up the show. I opened up and I kept running into the same, or it's like, that one's on the line. I don't think that one counts, or this one, the context clue really helped out to flesh out your understanding of what movie this is from. But anyway, neither here nor there.
All right. Well, I think we're just about towards the end. So I'm going to ask my famous last question, which is from one of my favorite movies of all time. What is your favorite thing about music?
I think it's what we were talking about earlier, like the sense of community, and not to be all earthy crunchy, but the energy and vibe in the room is palatable at times. I've been in enough live shows with enough people to where it's utterly electric, and you all know that you're experiencing a unique moment right now, just between all of you. And when a band recognizes that too, and they give it back, like, this is incredible for us as well. And the give and take, whatever that genre of music is, when you're both dialed in, it's incredible. There's that many people, and you know, all banging to the beat of the same drum.
it's a very unique experience. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. I missed talking to you and running into you. I'm sad that I don't get to see you soft shoe away, but
and those days are gone, you know? So let's enjoy the past, what was.
I did get the very last one from your very last match. Right before you left the studio, I asked for one more, and you graciously did it for me. So I do have that memory. Okay. So why don't you tell the kids where they can find you and what's coming up and all the fun
you can follow me at Matt Knost, and every thank you right there, Brandy. Tuesdays Top 10 comes out. Wednesdays, if you like NBA basketball, I do a basketball show called Dropping Dimes, and then on Thursdays, Settle the Score, which you have been a guest on, and you did a great job.
It was so much fun.
Emma was just a little bit quicker than you, just a few different times, and built up a lead. It was a fraction of a second.
Just so quick.
So quick. We had Janine, who you brought up earlier. We had her on, and her and Makuga crushed us, fucking crushed us. It was they were too good. They were too good, which is great. I'd love to have them back because now we want to. All right, fuckface. Thought you were good, huh? All right.
We're gonna
get vague as hell on you. Good luck.
I mean, Emma and I are still waiting for our musical off with Viviani.
I think it's a matter of scheduling.
Oh, obviously.
Well, honestly, it is because Ashley just moved. Because I think we were going to pair one. We're going to do two teams, you two versus two others.
I think it was me and Emma versus Viviani and Andreyko in musicals.
In musicals? Oh, I don't remember that. And I'm the one that does the booking. I don't remember that.
I think so, at least. I think that was what we talked about at the end of the episode.
I don't recall. Maybe we did. Once again, old age is catching up to me much quicker. I do not recall that. I didn't know that they were into musicals.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, just a scotch. Well, you can find all the links. You can find all the links to Matt's stuff below. Yes. And then just in general knowledge, tomorrow is the big pay-per-view, Collins versus Merle, and Stacey Howard versus Kevin Smith. You know who I am rooting for because it's Kevin Smith. Also, Saturday, I am on POV's Happy Hour with Jill and Molly. It's going to be super fun. We've got a really fun drink lined up. And I just kind of want to thank everybody because today is the 1-year anniversary of Movies, Music, and Mayhem. Literally, the very first episode was a year ago tomorrow. So it's been a full year. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I'm so glad I got to share this with you, Matt. This was so much fun. And now we get to do my favorite thing ever because I don't have any closeout music. We get to do the awkward dance off. Oh, thanks, Jeremy. Oh, yes. Sorry. This is my link for Settle the Score. Brandy, I'm going to throw that into the description because that was a very fun show. I had so much fun.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Anytime you want me back, you guys, you know how to reach me. But again, this is for me. Also, next week is going to be my birthday episode. So we're going to be planning a whole bunch of fun things. It's going to be weird and ridiculous. It's going to be a huge surprise. Keep your eyes posted to Twitter because it's going to be posted. I don't really know what time we're starting, but it's probably going to be, oh God, I hope it's not another 17-hour show, but it probably will be.
Yeah, you'll find out in due time.
We'll figure it out. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Matt. I have a great night, and thank you for coming and hanging out. And to everybody else, wear your masks, get those vaccinations, and take care of each other.